Let's have words. We're gonna talk it out.
All right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode. Can I call it an episode? The first show for Let's Have Words. So I'm glad that you are all able to make it with me tonight. My name is Lara Samuels. I'm going to be your host for the evening. So I'm sure you're all curious about what Let's Have Words is going to be all about, and I am going to, I promise you, fill you in on all of that information. So Let's Have Words is going to be broadcasting live. We're broadcasting from southern New Hampshire, in the Mount Monadnock region of southern New Hampshire, every Sunday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We are broadcasting on WWHR Internet Media, which is sort of like the virtual extension of what used to be an actual physical space that was in Lowell, Massachusetts, called the Hearing Room. So you may recognize WWHR, the call letters. HR stands for Hearing Room. So I'm going to tell you, I'm not expecting that everybody exactly knows what that is. So I'm going to be explaining a little bit about the history of the show and explain to you a little bit about how it evolved. And then we'll talk a little bit about what the show is going to be like today. So first of all, I just want to give you a little bit of history of the show. So Let's Have Words has existed for about 5 years. However, it has evolved over time, and now it's a completely different thing. So let's talk about what it was originally. So the Hearing Room was an art center that existed there's Lily the dog. She wasn't supposed to make an appearance, but there she is. So that existed in Lowell, Massachusetts. It was a physical space devoted to the creative process, I guess. So we like to have all kinds of different creative modalities at the Hearing Room. We would have a lot of music, of course, but we would also have poetry events and art events and theater events and things like that. We had a stage, and we would host those sorts of events. And we had a lot of regular events. And one of our regular events was Let's Have Words, which would happen every Wednesday night. And it was an open mic devoted to the spoken word, so devoted to poetry and storytelling and that sort of stuff. We felt like we had a lot of musical events, and we wanted to create an event that was exclusively, devoted to the spoken word. So no music was allowed at Let's Have Words, though we weren't that strict about it, obviously. So anyway, that was the idea, to give a space for non-musical events. So that went on for about 4 years, and then of course the Hearing Room unfortunately had to close, mostly due to COVID, and we, like many other venues, we had to sort of we tried to continue on in a virtual capacity, so we went virtual, and so many of our events went virtual, and one of them that went virtual was Let's Have Words. So we continued to do on Wednesday nights Let's Have Words virtually, and it was still a poetry / spoken word open mic, and I hosted it. And every Wednesday we would have people come and read their poetry, or read something that they, didn't have to be their own original stuff, but something they wanted to read, and we would share. And after a while, we decided that, we decided to retire Let's Have Words as a poetry spoken word type of event. And we have decided now to resurrect it, but it's completely different. So it is no longer devoted to poetry and storytelling and that sort of thing. Now what Let's Have Words is going to be, although I am a person who's very fond of saying that I actually enjoy the process of letting things sort of, grow and expand. I mean, that's kind of was one of the components of the Hearing Room, for sure. It starts out as one thing, and then we'll just kind of ride it and see where it goes. So we're not exactly sure what direction it's going to go, but for now, what we are going to do, the basic format is going to be a talk show format. So we'll have guests. Our goal is to line up a guest for every show. So that means because we're every Sunday from 8 to 9 p.m. we're going to be live. So we're going to line up a guest every Sunday. And the idea will be, I'll give a little introduction, then we'll have a little interview with that guest, and then we'll open the phone. So we'll let people call in and with comments and questions. So that's going to be the basic format of the show for now. Like I said, always leaving room for it to evolve into something else. So that's kind of the idea. So it's going to be, once again, a talk show format. So a little bit about the staff here at Let's Have Words, and maybe a little bit about WWHR. So there are two of us, and you can see us both on the screen right now. So I'm Lara Samuels. I will introduce a little bit. I'll tell you a little bit about myself in a second. But you'll also see on the screen Mr. Mark Aber, and he's running things from behind the scenes, so you will not see him very often. But Mark, why don't you tell people a little bit about WWHR and a little bit about what your role is on the show?
Oh, that's awesome. Can you hear me okay?
I think I can hear you. I can hear. I don't know.
How about if I turn my microphone on?
There you go.
That might work out better.
That's better.
So I'm glad to be part of the WWHR production staff here. I am going to be the behind the scenes man here at Let's Have Words, where I am pressing all the buttons, turning all the knobs, putting plugs and stuff into where they're supposed to go. And I'm also going to be controlling comments and chat and, working with the guests and callers. So pretty much everything that isn't being done by the host, I'm handling the rest of it.
And thank goodness for that, because I don't want to do any of that stuff. I just like to sit here and talk and drink my tea. I don't want to be
there you go
turning knobs and pressing buttons.
Well, this is very exciting.
So what about the WWHR? What's that all about?
Well, I mean, the WWHR, we are certainly expanding our programming. This is our inaugural home-based show here in the region of southern New Hampshire. With the talk show that we're having now, but I'm going to be producing some other shows, and we're going to bring radio drama over to this channel. We're going to be bringing some film related things, also some musical components, and there's just a lot of ideas that I've been floating around, and we're just going to keep trying, and we're going to be expanding as we move forward. After today, I'm very excited, it being the fact that it's the first show. I've been working behind the scenes with the WWHR, producing another live stream, which I've been very fortunate to be a part of for Ronnie Stolzberg on Sundays, and we're going to be producing here some other live streams as well.
So these are musical events.
Those, right? When I talk about the live streams like that, yes, so musical events.
Yeah. We're still doing a lot of music, because the WWHR is sort of the hearing room, which was once again a physical art space in Lowell, Massachusetts. It's sort of the virtual extension of the hearing room. That's kind of the idea, I would say. So we're going to have, we're hoping to grow and have more events that will be brought to you by WWHR. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. All right. So that was Mark. So thank goodness for him, because nothing could happen without him. He's certainly a critical component of the entire show here. So you might be asking yourself, what sorts of topics are going to be on Let's Have Words? And you may think, in fact, I would not fault you for thinking this, that most of what would happen on Let's Have Words might be art related. Since the hearing room was certainly an art center, I would expect that you might think that most of our topics will be culture, art, music, cultural events and that sort of thing. But actually, we are leaving the field wide open. So we plan on covering topics ranging from politics to, technology and science. Of course, we're not ruling out, the arts, but we will be expanding our horizons and having conversations about all sorts of topics. We're not going to be shying necessarily away from controversial topics. So the kinds of topics we will cover, we're mostly going to be determined by the guests that we have. So we are going to be reaching out to people, finding interesting people in the area, and we'll be interviewing them about whatever their passion happens to be, or so it's going to be driven. The topics that we choose are going to be driven by the guests that we have. So that's kind of the idea, but we're not ruling anything out, right? So if anybody out there wants to be a guest on Let's Have Words, if you have some passion or something that you do for a living that you think might be interesting, or even if you're involved in some sort of organization that you want to talk about or whatever, you're welcome to contact us. We would love to have you on Let's Have Words. We're just really wanting to interview interesting people in the area and cover a large variety of topics, ranging from, the mundane to the profound and everything in between. So we're not ruling anything out. So that's kind of the idea of Let's Have Words. So once again, Let's Have Words will be a talk show, interview format with the call-in component every Sunday from 8 to 9 p.m. Right here on WWHR. So that's the deal. That's the deal. Oh, and as far as I didn't introduce myself, I just realized. So my name is Lara Samuels, and I am that's my name down there in the corner. And I am completely unqualified for this job, I must say, because I've never done it before. But I'm looking forward to trying out my interview talk show host chops and seeing how things go. Just a little background on me. I'm a teacher. I've been a nurse. I was a nurse for a little while. So, the human arts, that's my thing. So I like humans. I figure that's all you need, right? That's all you need to be an interview person. You just need to enjoy being around human beings and enjoy talking to them. And so that's it. Those are my qualifications. So hopefully we'll see how that goes. So I am looking forward to hosting Let's Have Words every week from 8 to 9 p.m. every Sunday. All right. So yes. So today's guest. Let's get to today's guest. We're not going to bring him up on the screen quite yet. I just want to talk about what you can expect for today. What are we going to talk about today? So if you look behind me, you'll see that there's some grass. And it's actually specifically bluegrass behind me. And that is going to be our topic for the day. So today we do actually have a musical topic. Nothing, terribly controversial, hopefully. And we are going to be talking to Joe Laporto, who is very involved in local bluegrass music. He, among other things, runs, or founded, I should say, and runs something called Bluegrass Therapy, which is a group of people that likes to you may think it's a band because it's a great name for a band, but it's not a band. It's a group of people that enjoy getting together and they enjoy playing bluegrass music. So we're going to talk with Joe Laporto in a few minutes about bluegrass therapy, about bluegrass in general, about jamming, and who knows, we might even go in deep and talk about just music, So we don't exactly know where that conversation is going to go, but it's going to focus on bluegrass music and also on some events that are coming up that Bluegrass Therapy is going to be hosting. So we're going to be talking about some specific events that are also going to be coming to you soon to this area. So that's going to be our guest. But before I invite Joe on, we're going to have a call-in component. Okay. So just to reiterate, I'll talk for a while, then we'll have a guest, we'll talk to the guest, and then we'll open the phones and we'll have people calling in and with questions and comments. So today, since our topic is bluegrass music, not very controversial, of course, so I don't anticipate any arguments or any, fiery language or anything like that. But just as a general thing, I plan to do this every show. I just want to remind callers that we have 2 rules. Okay. 2 rules at Let's Have Words, just 2. I'm sure that later we'll have more because that's what happens with rules. That's what happens with rules. You guys all know this, right? You start with, you don't want to have any rules. Like, I don't, rules, who needs them, right? You start out, you're like, no rules at all. And as you move forward, you realize that rules need to be put in place. This is this has been a theme in my life. I don't know about you guys, but so I'm going to start with 2. Okay, I'm going to start with 2 rules, just 2, and hopefully we won't have to add rules later. But the first rule of calling in to Let's Have Words is be nice. Okay, that's our first rule. So, of course, once again, don't anticipate any conflict on today's show, since our topic is relatively innocuous, of course, bluegrass music. However, in the future, we may actually tackle some kind of sort of controversial topics that people may feel very passionate about. And we want to prevent people from, having any conflict, because one of the philosophies of Let's Have Words is that, or maybe I should say the philosophy is that talking to each other is how we stop ourselves from killing each other. So, so conversation is really important. Keeping those lines of communication open all the time is really important. But if we're having those sorts of conversations, we want to be nice to each other. We don't want to attack each other. And so that's rule number 1 is be nice, because the only way you can keep lines of communication open, you guys know this, right, is you have to be respectful and nice. Even if you want to strangle a person, you still have to be nice. So the first rule of Let's Have Words, be nice. The second rule of Let's Have Words rhymes with be nice, which is be concise, right? So if you're going to call into the show and you want to talk, that's great. You want to give a comment or a question, you just kind of want to keep it kind of, just try to say what you have to say, in a very, brevity is something we're all working on all the time. I think it's very important, especially on a call-in show like this, because we'll have several callers perhaps, and we want to make sure we get everybody in. And so just try to think about what you have to say and just kind of keep it nice and concise. And that's it. Those are our 2 rules. So I don't, hopefully we won't have to add rules going forward, but we might. All right. So without further ado, I think we're ready to invite our guest, Joe Laporto.
Drove down to Maynard to the KOC. Joe Sunday jams.
What are you doing
like
here?
me.
Hi, Mark.
To the high lonesome, perhaps there's no hope. Got addicted to bluegrass music. That was all she wrote.
All right. Well,
I'm glad I got my fix of bluegrass music today. That was good.
Yeah. So okay. Not to put you on the spot, but that song we were just playing, were you able to hear it? You were able to hear it.
Yes,
right?
I was. Yeah.
Okay, that was Ralph DeFlorio's song. Our friend Ralph wrote that song. And did you know you were immortalized in that song? Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, can we hear it again? Can we hear it again? All right, here we go. Listen. You gotta listen, Joe. All right.
Okay.
Drove down to Maynard to the KOC. Joe Sunday jams like therapy to me.
So he drove down to
Now I do
Maynard.
remember that song.
Joe's Sunday Jam was like therapy. So just so people know, I know Joe because I actually am from this area, but I moved back from St. Louis. I lived in St. Louis for a while, and I moved back in 2015. And I was looking for a place to play music, and I was staying in Andover, Mass, with my sister, and but the closest jam I could find was in Maynard, which is I don't know if you guys know the distance, but that was quite a drive. It was at least an hour, I think. Anyway, I went down there, and this is how I met Joe, and because Joe was running a Sunday jam every Sunday. And I think those were sort of the origins of bluegrass therapy. Am I wrong? Am I right?
No, you're not. Right on. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your how you got into bluegrass and how bluegrass therapy, what is bluegrass therapy, how it started, and all that good stuff.
So I started playing guitar when I was around 14 years old. My mom took my twin sister and I, and we got our first guitars through S&H Green Stamps. We licked about 22 books of
Oh, no way.
S&H Green Stamps and came home with guitars. And at that age, I said, boy, if my mom went through all of that, I'm going to, really learn this instrument. Well, that instrument became a focal point in my life. I love playing my guitar. We'd take it camping, and, we play with relatives and so on and so forth. And so I was into the folk scene quite a bit. And then my wife's uh, two cousins took me to a Gray Fox festival, but it was called Winterhawk back in the day. And we went to this festival, and I saw these musicians who could play their instruments like no one's business, and I was just absolutely blown away. I saw some of the greats like Tony Rice and um, Alison Krauss was there, and a number of really accomplished musicians playing their instruments and singing and harmonizing. And I came home and I said, I got to learn this, And so the following year, I went to, again, to Great Fox, but I went a week early and went to Pete Warnick's Bluegrass camp. And it was 3 or 4 days before the festival. And that's where I got my first real big exposure to bluegrass music. And from that point on, I've been hooked. I play nothing else. I listen to nothing else, probably,
Wow.
if my family could be honest about my music choices, but I'm always putting on bluegrass music and listening to it, and I just love it. So bring it forward quite a few years, I was looking to play with people, and I was the treasurer at the Knights of Columbus, and they had a big hall there, and I said, okay, let me invite some people to play. And so, we had 1 or 2 people every week come in and whatever, and it wasn't materializing the way I would hoped. And so my daughter Erin suggested that I use meetups. So I put it out there on meetups, and lo and behold, once people saw that, we started getting a lot of traffic. And I had one rule around who came and played with us, is that we all sit in a circle because we're all equal. There is no one better than anyone else. We're
Nice.
here to
Yeah.
learn and love and cherish the music that we're here to play, and we're here to help each other grow in whatever um, you know. Instrument they're particularly playing, or whatever vocal that you want to bring to the table, you would bring it, and we would all try to learn it and try to support one another. So that had to be somewhere close to 7 years ago, I think.
Okay.
And so, we had some good traffic, and then we started attending festivals together, and, just being inviting to people. And that's the one beauty about this group, Bluegrass Therapy, is that people are very caring and supportive and loving to one another. I've seen, a lot of people come into this group and they won't leave because when they sit down, they feel comfortable with each other, and they feel supported, and they're learning, and we're all growing together. And some people are on their second and third instruments, which is really amazing. In the time that we've been playing together,
Right.
and they're always out there trying to reach out and help each other, and so right now the group is something on our webpage. 180 people
Wow.
are part of this group, and we've gone to festivals together. We've had parties at each other's homes. We've had barbecues in the backyard playing bluegrass. You know, we've had numerous venues where we've established. I established 2 of them. One is the Westford Orchard in Harvard, Mass, and they play on the porch, and that's still going. I've kind of left that group and left it to other people to manage, and they've done a great job. And
Yeah.
then we've had beyond the Knights of Columbus. We closed the Knights of Columbus. Now we're at Theater with a Twist in Acton, Mass, which is on Great Road. And that particular venue is they've been, Mary, who's the owner, she's been very hospitable to the entire group. It's a wonderful location.
And when is that?
Okay,
It's
so
in
it's
in Acton, Mass, on Great Road, Theater with the
yeah, so
Twist.
it was
Yeah.
Sunday nights, and we're going to change it to Sunday afternoons.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be 1 to 4 o'clock. And right now we're in a 2 weeks shut down. But in about 2 weeks, we'll be bringing it back up, and we'll be putting out message to the Bluegrass Therapy group
Gotcha.
to come play. But
So
so it'll be 1 to 4
1 to 4
there.
Sundays.
Now, what has sustained this group? We've had a lot of people who have really stepped up. And, I've been absent at certain periods of times. Like the first time I was absent, I had a sickness. And so David Seibel took over and kind of led the group and kept the thing going. And I'm very grateful for everything he did to keep it going. And then Rick Candy was another one who stepped up in another period of time and really kept the thing going. And Mark Bear also stepped in, and helped us keep this thing going. And so there's been numerous people who have come and, provided the great leadership to keep this group, working and being viable.
Right.
So where we are today, we're at this point where we're starting to grow again. Kind of goes through these phases, and COVID was not very helpful and not kind to the whole process. But where we are right now, we're at a point where we're starting to bring in additional festivals. We're starting to work with other venues, and in about March, sometime in March, maybe early April, we're probably going to do similar to what Fiddle Hell did. We're taking over a hotel and going to use a bunch of their banquet halls and so on and so forth in order to create a small festival.
Oh, that sounds fun.
So
So
I'm
the
hoping
date
that's
on that
getting
is not
close.
the date on
No,
that is not set yet.
No, we're working
Yeah.
with. So we initially worked with one hotel, but I think we were too big for them to handle. So then we went to this
That's a
other
big compliment.
the Westford Regency Hotel, which is in Westford, Mass.
Mhm.
And I've been working with them to come up with a date. But I'm very confident that we'll have something in March or early April
Right.
to spring in our first big festival being held by
And
the
when you say
Bluegrass Therapy.
festival, so this is going to be or what's going to be happening? Is it going to be mostly a jam, or you don't really
Yeah,
necessarily
we're
know
gonna have
yet?
workshops.
Oh, workshops too. Okay,
We're gonna
cool.
have workshops. We're gonna have people jamming all hours of the night and
Nice.
day. And and there are a lot of people within our group who are very accomplished. So they'll lead jams. We have what is known as a slow jam, and you could be any level in to play a slow jam. And the beauty about us playing a slow jam is it allows you to work on your instrument in a group setting and to play among other people. But I even myself use a slow jam in order to try different riffs that I'm trying to improve on. So it's slowed down a little bit, not
Yeah,
but enough so that you can then practice these things. So there are
that
a
sounds
lot of people
awesome.
who are accomplished musicians who will, I mean, as they say, you got to slow it down to speed it up,
Right.
and that's
So
how we learn.
what you've described to me sounds like a very inclusive atmosphere. Like so when bluegrass therapy is, a group of people that like to play bluegrass music.
Right.
But and if people wanted to join bluegrass therapy, like so you're open to like all levels,
Yes.
beginners all the way to advanced. And the idea is that people help each other. And so this is an excellent opportunity for people who are learning a new instrument
Right.
and are interested in bluegrass to come and play. And they won't feel like, out of their
Intimidated or anything.
league or intimidated.
No.
Right. They'll
Right.
feel like they're part of something. So that's really nice for people
So I
to
noticed
have
this
that
that I noticed
outlet.
that
Yeah.
everyone who sits in circle go out of their way to help each other grow.
That's nice. Yeah.
And from 8 to 80 years old, we've had,
Yeah.
and all different levels of the playing ability. And then there are people who could play well. They can play their instrument okay, but they don't know anything about bluegrass. So we use a book called the Fake Book, the Bluegrass Fake Book. It's by Bert Casey. It's about 150 songs of bluegrass, traditional bluegrass songs and gospel bluegrass songs, and we've even there's some even contemporary songs that they bluegrassed up that are in there, and we use that as a means that everyone's on the same page, learning the same music, etc. And it's been a good foundation for people to learn the foundations of the music, and then they can go off into new grass and all the other different forms of bluegrass music that are out there.
Yeah, but people, so if people came to the jam, would they have to go, would they have to stay within that book? I mean, is part of
Oh no, like
part of the
if
deal?
you had a
They
song,
could bring their own songs and play
yeah.
whatever they wanted to
So
do. Yeah,
the key is that if it's a completely unique song that you don't think anyone will know, we're willing to try it, but you just need to bring a couple of copies of your sheet
I
music
see.
so that we
Right,
can all share it. And we've
right,
taken songs and maybe taken 3 or 4 attempts to learn the song, and by the time we've sat in circle playing this song 3 or 4 times, we're now up to speed, and it becomes a group favorite, and
right,
everyone's playing it and making it popular and so on and so forth. So
right.
yeah,
So
it's how it kind of
if I
works.
were a person who I just started playing an instrument, I wanted to play with other people, but I wasn't really into bluegrass necessarily, but I wanted to check it out. Could I just come in and just play along and listen, or would I
Yes.
have to bring songs with me, or I could just sort of just hang out, play my instrument, and just listen
Yeah.
and
So a
not
lot of people,
necessarily
yeah, so
leave.
that's a good point. A lot
Yeah,
of people have come and kind of sat in the second. They sit in the circle. If we
right,
have a primary circle, they'll sit there, but maybe they'll tone down their instrument a little bit because they're still learning and they're not sure of the chord changes and so on and so forth. And we encourage that. But the other thing is that we always will point to someone across the room who knows the song well and tell them to watch that person's hands.
I
So
see.
when they go to a G chord, you go to a G. When they go to a C, you go to a C, and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
And then they start to hear it in their head, and then you start to get it. And you know, we don't do a lot of real complicated stuff. I mean, the riffs that people do are pretty
yeah.
complicated, but
Two,
when
three
we're playing,
chords.
yeah,
Those are
three or
the
four
ideal
chords,
songs,
three or
right?
four
Jam
chords are the
on. Yeah,
basis of it, and then you can
right,
capo up or down
right.
in order to to change your
Yeah.
key.
It's
But
great for
basically, we keep it
people.
simple.
It's great for people like I'm a jammer too. So it's great for people who want to just improvise, just
Right.
to learn how to improvise, learn how to play by ear. It's a great opportunity for people that want to learn more improvisation and also harmony singing. Because I
Oh
think
yes.
harmony singing is a big component of bluegrass music, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so that's
That
another
that
piece of
old
it.
lonesome sound, and
The high
everyone's
lonesome sound, right?
and everyone's singing it and harmonizing, and it
Yeah,
goes way, way back. It's a traditional way of singing this music, and it's
yeah,
American roots music, and that high lonesome sound that people love to hear and love to play, and it's a lot of fun when you can harmonize well with someone else. I don't have the greatest voice in the world, but there are other people in our group who have fantastic voice, and I just am thrilled to sit next to them and sing a few songs together, and it just makes it
yeah.
much more fun.
Sounds like fun. It sounds like so much fun. So before we bring callers on, I just want to ask one more question. So we
Sure.
haven't. Why the therapy piece of this? So bluegrass therapy, like where did that originate? And like, because
Yeah.
for me, I mean, music is therapy. Period. I mean, I
Right.
understand that. Is that kind of the idea? Is that it's a therapeutic environment for
Yeah, so
people?
I didn't come up with the name. I think a lot of the members who were there, who sat in circle with us, came up with the name. I was absent the week that the name was
Oh, no
established, but,
way.
but when I came, but when I came back, I laughed like crazy. And I said, "That's a
Yeah.
perfect name."
Yeah.
But
Nice.
basically, it was playing together was like therapy,
Yeah.
right? And we played on Sunday nights, so it was like therapy before going to work on Monday.
Oh,
you
that's
know,
a
it
good.
was it
Right.
was
That's
like our
a great
our
time to have
therapy
it.
before we
Yeah.
had a week's worth of work. And so
Right.
everyone had their own reason why they called it therapy, and they're all good reasons. I mean, that's the beauty of it. Everyone has their own unique reasons, but they're all good, and
Yeah.
it just makes it a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
so we have banners, we have T-shirts, we go to festivals together, and we
Yeah.
show our wares and whatever. But people ask, "Who's Bluegrass Therapy?" And then they find out a large group of very supportive and welcoming group of people. Because when we were at the Gray Fox Festival, we were bringing people in and they sit among us and they had no idea where they were or why they were there, but they
Yeah.
were playing music with us. And some of them
Yeah.
are still coming, which is
That's great.
amazing. So, yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, that sounds like I mean, I know I'm familiar with bluegrass therapy, obviously, but just for somebody who isn't familiar with bluegrass therapy, it really is a great way. I mean, no matter where you're at, musically, it's just a wonderful thing to be able to play with people, sing with people, learn how to improvise, just be in a supportive environment where you don't feel intimidated. It's just it's a great it's just a wonderful outlet, and for me it is definitely therapeutic as well. So there's that on top
Right.
of it, so you
And-
can learn how to play music, and or not just learn how to play, but expand, get better at playing, and also it makes you feel good. So, and right, like you said,
Exactly.
Sunday night right before you have to go back to work, and it's a good time to
Right.
have it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh,
And,
all
and
right.
so the question would be, how do you get in touch with us? Well, one of the
There you
ways is
go.
to get on
That's a good question.
Google Groups and look
Yep.
for us on Google Groups, Bluegrass
Okay.
Therapy Group.
Yep.
It's the name of it. And you can
Yep.
find us on Google Groups. But you can also email me, first name Joseph _ Loporto, LOPORTO, at
Okay.
hotmail.com. And you can write to me and say, saw you on the show, whatever, want to get involved. And then I will hook you up, put you on our Bluegrass Therapy mailing
Or
list so that you hear of all the different jams that people are hosting. And
another
and
possibility is people can just show up, right? They could just come when you
yes,
start up again on
right.
Sunday at Theater
Theater
with
with
a
a twist.
Twist on
Right.
Great Road in Acton,
278 Great Road.
1 to 4 p.m. Do you have a line on it? So you said you're taking a
Yeah,
brief
probably a
hiatus,
week or two. So give it a
week or
couple
two.
weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're doing some things at the facility there, and
Okay.
when that's all clear, we'll come again.
All right. And
So that's 278 Great Road
270 Great Road.
in Acton,
Mhm.
Mass. It's behind the mattress store that you'll see
Yeah.
there. You
It's
swing
not easy
around.
to find. It's not easy
No,
to
no.
find.
But
It
if you
really
write to
isn't.
me, we'll get
Write to Joe.
you hooked up. I'll give you a Sky map, a Google map, and you
Nice.
find your way.
That's true. Everybody has, it's hard to find if you're just navigating, the old fashioned way,
Right.
But, if you have a GPS, no problem.
Right.
All right. So that's a great thing, sounds like, for all kinds of people with all kinds of interests, and not necessarily even just bluegrass music, but but your focus is definitely bluegrass focus.
Well,
So-
we take folk songs or contemporary songs and we
Right.
bluegrass them
and you
up for fun.
grass them up, right?
Yeah, we
So-
did a whole
so-
night of Bob Dylan. We had a blast. Every
Oh,
Bob
my.
Dylan song we grassed up, and we all had a ball.
Yeah, you
So,
can pretty much
yeah.
grass up anything, I would imagine. But so
Yeah.
as long as you have those instruments like that, the banjo and the
So it's the mandolin, the
fiddle.
banjo, the dobro, the guitar. I already mentioned the banjo.
Yeah.
Let's see, the bass, stand-up bass is another one, and
Yeah.
so if you own any of those instruments and it's sitting in your closet and you haven't touched it in a while, this is your big chance. Bring it
Yeah.
out, dust it off, and come
And who
play with us.
knows? You could get addicted to bluegrass music, like our friend Ralph.
Right, doesn't take long.
Right, who heard the high lonesome sound and that was it. He heard the G run and that was it. Or Joe Labordo, who also went to a festival and was addicted to bluegrass music.
Exactly.
So who knows? It may be a new addiction, and it's a healthy addiction. It's not
It
one
is.
of the, right. It doesn't have any detrimental effects. So
That
all
we
right.
know of.
That we know of. maybe it does. We don't know. But yeah, I think if anything, there are positive effects. Probably lowers your blood pressure, that sort of stuff. All right. So I think we are going to open the phones. I think we do actually have some callers lined up. So that's correct. All right. So we have up. Oh, look at this.
Our first caller.
Hi, Joe. That's our first caller.
Now here's someone who has started, and she goes way back with me, and she started on the guitar and is probably on her third or fourth instrument by now, and plays them all well, and just a ball to be around. So
Yeah.
Well,
Welcome, Sue.
I have to say, I want to thank you because you created the most amazing community in this group, and I love the music, but half of what I love about it is the community and all the people that I've met through this community. So music changes lives.
It does. That's
Yeah.
it,
As we know.
really. That's not an understatement. It definitely does.
Well, I have a question. I have to ask this question. So Joe, so Joe was talking a little bit earlier about Gray Fox, and he's an annual attendee, and I just have, and so what Joe does is the night before, he goes up maybe 5 days before, camps out with friends before Gray Fox, and then on the night before Gray Fox, he drives his car over, loaded up with steaks, yellow
Ribbon,
tape,
Grease tape.
Great big pop up, and sits there all night to get an early entrance into the fair. And Joe, I just want to ask, why do you do this, and what motivates you to do this?
I think if
Great
we did,
question.
so it creates a space for us on this campus, which is called Gray Fox. It's a camping area of over 5,000 campers, and if we didn't do that, we would be dispersed all throughout. And so what I do is I go there and create probably a block of a street block of space for all of us to come and put up our tents and whatever. And so then we become the community on this great campus of Gray Fox that, all of us are sitting amongst one another, and we're, putting up our tents and camping. And some people can't arrive that early because they have to work. So we're creating space for when they do arrive on Friday, because that they call it the land rush. The land rush is on Wednesday morning at 7:00 in the morning. So you've been sitting in your car all night, and then you do this great land rush and try to get as much space as you can, which they'll allow you to get, so that then your friends who show up later can all sit amongst us. And this is a tradition. It's a tradition. I didn't start it. My cousins did it for me when I did it probably 20 years ago. I showed up on a Friday, and they created the space for me on Wednesday, and everything was all set up when I arrived.
So who are you going to pass this tradition on to? You got somebody lined up?
Yeah, I think, we'll keep doing it until,
Yeah.
we can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But the beauty is that we're all sitting together, and we're camping, and we're barbecuing together, and we're jamming all night together, and, and then we're sitting and watching the great musicians on the hill. There's, three major venues you can go sit and listen to the pros play, and we go to those, and we go to workshops together. And the beauty is it's one big community who just goes together to this thing. And if we didn't create this, then you'd be dispersed, and some people wouldn't feel comfortable going by themselves. But now they know that they can come and sit amongst us, and
Community building.
Right. And it's more fun, obviously, if you're there with a bunch of people and everybody has shared interests. And just sounds like a blast. I haven't had a chance to go, but
we got to get you there.
I'll get there one of these days. Well, Sue and Kurt, I mean, you guys are just bluegrass therapy veterans. You've been around almost from the beginning, right? I mean,
we met at KOC, the place that Ralph was singing about.
One of the other guys. Yes.
Yeah. Right.
So, how many years do you think it's been? I kind of lost track. You think we're on 6 years, possibly?
I think so. I think you're.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know
Somewhere about
I came in 2015. I know that for sure.
Okay.
I think you'd already been going for a good year before I kicked
off. Okay. So it might have been 2014 then.
Yeah, so it might have been 2014 even.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I came because of the meetup that your daughter suggested. I found in the meetup. Yeah.
Me too.
Yep. So yeah.
So cool.
It's great. And also another thing to note, like Joe said that Sue has multiple instruments. This is the other thing, is once you start playing with other people, you start to get curious about other instruments, and you just it takes you on this musical journey that you probably wouldn't otherwise go on. I mean, it's definitely very inspiring environment for sure. So for multiple reasons, but one of them being you just want to try out all these different instruments, and and you kind of find find where you belong, or like the instrument that fits you the best. So
Right.
Yeah. All right.
We owe a lot to Joe. He really nurtured a love and appreciation for this genre.
He did. Joe is just definitely at the helm. Captain, my captain. All right.
Well, it's been fun.
Yes. All right. So Sue and Kurt, well, thank you for calling in to Let's Have Words.
Thank you.
And I think you
see
guys
you at the next festival.
Yes. All right. I think we have another caller lined up. It's Ralph.
Hello.
All right. This is
Ralph created our theme song.
The theme song there. That's right.
Well, it was only created because you inspired me, Joe.
See, there you go. There you go.
This is the first show, and I couldn't think of a better guest than Joe Laporto. I mean, you've got somebody that everybody loves, and I mean this sincerely, makes a big difference in people's lives.
Yeah, definitely.
I go back to around 2014. I started noticing the meetups, and I think finally I got a little nudge brought along from Paul Kafalis in 2015, and had no idea what this bluegrass music was about. At least hadn't really played it before. And to sit in that terrible sounding room, the big banquet room. Fortunately, we moved into the kitchen, or the room that had the pool table, which was a whole lot better sounding. But I remember coming out of that first session saying, I don't know anything about this music, but I want to learn it. And this is just a really cool place. And the guy that's running it is just very inclusive. And I really like having jams where you have people at different levels and people that are trying to show other people how to do things. And none of that happens unless you have a leader who's willing to facilitate it and make it happen. Definitely. And, you really brought it along, Joe. And just the fact that it went from maybe 2 people to 180 and still growing. People don't show up unless they're having a good time. And it's just been a really beautiful thing. I think of all the friendships that I've had that have come out of the bluegrass therapy. It's just been magnificent. So, there's a lot of things in the world that are not so great.
Right.
But every time I think, when I have a bad moment about something, and I think about you and everybody in bluegrass therapy, it just makes me feel better.
Yeah. 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 So it's definitely not just the music, although it's interesting. I always found it interesting jamming that you play music with people every week, but there's not a huge, there is a social component, but most of the time you're playing music. So you get to know people really well, but it's on a different, it's not level. Your typical, right. It's not your typical environment where you get to know people, and so you know them musically, but you feel like really intimately connected with people, but you may not even know very much about them. But you still feel this sort of connection with them just because of the music. And definitely, like Ralph said, you have a lot to do with creating that feeling of inclusiveness. And I think that's really important to facilitate, foster that, those relationships.
To me, what makes it really worthwhile is I'll sit amongst the circle and everyone's playing, they're playing their best and whatever, but I see this huge grin on everyone's face. And I know this was worth it. It was worth the effort to get us here. Yeah. It was just worth it. Period. And I remember this one little girl, she had a mandolin. She was 8 years old with her dad and sitting in circle. And for the first time, she got it. She was playing her mandolin and she looked up at her father and looked at me and had this huge grin on her face. And that was my payoff right there. Yes. Just paid me off for years to know that we collectively influence that little girl's progression. And I run into her
Yes.
every now and again at festivals with her dad and whatever. And she's grown up. She's probably another 6 or 8 years older. About 6 years older, and she's playing still and loving the music. So there you
Yeah.
go. You know,
That's
you
a
never
nice
know where it's
feeling.
going to take us.
Yeah. Those early
I
experiences.
have two more quick
so
things.
important.
One
Yeah,
is
go ahead.
a little correction. You said
Okay.
the ages were 8 to 80. I want to say I think it's more like 8 to 92 or 90.
Barky.
Right?
Oh yeah.
So,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, that's a pretty big spectrum.
Yeah, that's right. Barky's,
And
that's right.
the other thing I just wanted to illustrate what I'm saying was, after everybody being in lockdown, I got my second shot back in April. And at the same time, conveniently, Joe just reopened Bluegrass Therapy. And I remember showing up. We had this little jam, and it just felt so great. It was like, we're back. We're
Right.
really back in every sense of the word, playing music with people, but having Joe be part of it and
Yeah.
people smiling. And it was just a beautiful thing. So I just want to thank you as much as I possibly can for everything you're doing. And I'm looking forward to all the years ahead doing
Oh
this.
yeah, we hopefully have many. And I'm grateful for all the people who kept this thing going when I was absent. Like they just kept the wheels turning while it all happened around us, and life happens to all of us, and we all collectively kept this thing going. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
And even though I got addicted, I think it's a good thing, man.
It's a good addiction, right? It's a positive thing,
It's one of those though. It's a gateway drug. You start with a
is.
guitar, and then you got to go find a dobro, then you got to
Right.
find a fiddle. It's a gateway drug.
Takes you places you never would have imagined. Yeah, and the thing is too with the lockdown. I mean, jamming is difficult in Zoom. Like the virtual formats could accommodate a lot of things, but definitely not jamming. Jamming was one of the things you absolutely have to do live with other people. You can't do it in Zoom. I mean, there's the lag, of course, but it's just you really need to be alive. So yeah, it felt really good to actually get together with people again, and yeah, so. All right. Well, Ralph, thank you for calling in, and thank you for writing that song. It's great.
Thanks for the theme song.
Yeah, Ralph writes lots of great stuff. Great stuff he writes. All right. Well, so I think we even have more people that are. Oh, it's me. Look at it. It's Jenna.
Hey, when I heard Joe was coming to town, I cleared my schedule
There you go.
because it's always so much fun happening when Joe's around.
Yeah. How did you? So Jana, how did you?
I'm sorry. What?
Oh, I was just going to ask you. So, like, how did you get involved? You're calling in from like somewhere kind of far, right?
Yeah,
kind
I'm
of
out
far
in
away.
Western Mass.
So you hooked up with Bluegrass Therapy at Gray Fox, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a story.
Yeah.
So I came in with a banjo,
Yep.
2 songs, and 3 chords.
How long had you been playing?
Oh, maybe a year.
Maybe a year.
And I didn't even know what a festival was. I didn't know what a jam was, nothing. And I just drove in there, and I just sat and watched this great group of people having a good time at a campsite. And was like, wow, that's a jam. Oh my God. And so Joe came out and said, hey, do you wanna play some music here? And I was so excited. I grabbed my banjo, one of 8 in the group.
Banjo heavy sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. And Joe welcomed me in, and I was able to just kind of sit there and play and learn how to be in a group of musicians with some pretty amazing musicians, actually. And they were very welcoming. And that's because of Joe. And I'm forever grateful for that. And I'm still playing the darn thing.
There it is.
And I wouldn't be if it wasn't for Joe.
That's
when
right.
I first,
and you know more chords now. You know more than just 3 chords
I know
now.
a few more chords.
And a few more songs.
And I know how to play with other people nicely because Joe taught me.
Yeah.
Well, the funny
And
story.
he let me run around with him like a little puppy to my first festival, my first jam.
And you didn't
my
know what you
first
were getting into
camp.
at all. You just like wandered in there, like, what's going on here?
Oh no,
And
what
you
was
just
very funny, she drove
stumbled on
around.
it. Yeah.
So you remember how we petitioned off the land, the great land rush? Well, we had space for people coming in. She drove around about 3 times trying to find a place to put her tent
Yeah.
and couldn't do it. And so we noticed, and we were jamming at the time, and I noticed it, and I got up and I put my banjo down and I said, wait a minute, what instrument do you play? She said, banjo. And I said, okay, you're in. And we invited her. We gave her a little part of the land. You know, she was kind of in the woods, but we gave her a spot to put her pup tent up, and
That's
and then
right.
she joined our group. So
Yeah, and I've been a member ever since, and I'm just so happy, and I'm really excited about the Jam Festival coming up because I know it's going to be loaded full of kind and generous and fun people because
yeah,
it's the Bluegrass Therapy Group. So it'll be fun.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So you're planning on taking the hike down over to Westford, Mass. Whenever
yeah, sure.
in either March or April, whenever it's going to be happening at the Westford. Where's it again going to be? The Westford
The Westford
Regency
Regency Hotel,
Yeah. So you guys
conference center.
You guys all out there in Let's Have Word Land, Let's Have Words Land, be alert to the upcoming announcements about that, because that's going to be a
Right.
really fun time. Really fun time.
So that
Yeah.
will happen within the 3 to 5 days. We'll lock down the location and the time and the date,
Yep.
and then we'll let everyone know. And then it's, you know, how do you get in? And
Are you going to be? Are there going to be tickets?
Yeah. And I think what we're going to do is a community contribution program,
I
which,
see.
you know, we're going to have an ask, and we want to be inviting to everyone, and we don't want your financial circumstance to prohibit you from coming.
I see.
So it's, you know, it's community contribution program where we give an ask price. If you can pay that, great. If you can pay more, great. And if you can't pay that, great. Just show up.
I see.
And
Okay.
we'll make it work.
That sounds great. Sounds fabulous
Yeah.
arrangement. All right. Well, Jana, it was nice to have you come visit us today. I
Yeah,
know. So,
thanks.
Joe, you've inspired so many people. I mean, I think Jana's like an excellent example of somebody same way with me when I first started jamming. You know, it's just I just kind of stumbled on this thing, and it changed my life. I mean, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you meet so many great people, like you said, and you have a great time, and you improve on your you know, your musicianship, and so there's just so many benefits for sure for
Right.
joining
Yeah,
Bluegrass
sure.
Therapy. And I think you're an excellent example of like how far you can go. I mean, just, you know, you
Yeah.
show up, and before you know it, it's like a big part of your life. And
Right.
really
Yeah, now I'm
valuable.
addicted.
Now she's addicted too, another addict.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And the other beauty is you never know who's going to show up at one of the jams. So someone will say they're hosting a jam, and then someone you haven't seen for weeks or months will show up as from part of the Bluegrass group.
Yep.
And you go, there they are. You know, it's wonderful. It's like an old home week, you know,
Yep.
whenever you see people. And so we want to have more and more of these festivals. When the weather gets good, we want to have more backyard barbecues or whatever reason we can invent to bring us together as a community, we're going to do.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Jana. Well, thanks for coming and on to Let's
Nice
Have
seeing you,
Word
Jana.
and
Good to see you too.
Thanks.
contributing. Thank you. Do we have another caller there, Mark? Oh my!
Hi.
It's Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Amy's calling from New
Hey.
Hampshire.
Hey, Joe.
All right.
Hey,
Nice
Lara.
to see you.
How you doing? Oh, I just wanted to call and say a lot has been said already. We've already had a lot of words about this, but I wanted to thank Joe for being so welcoming to everybody who comes in and allowing us to have this community to make new friends. This is how I met both of you. And
Yep.
but I remember the first time I came, I was all by myself. I didn't want to even bring anybody because I thought, like, well, what if it stinks, you know? And then my friend is going to be like, oh, why'd you bring me to this thing? So I went by myself, and everybody was just super nice. And Joe, you know, spoke to me afterwards. He said, oh, this is the book
Oh, there's the book. Everybody, that's the book.
The book we use, I'm like, oh, great, great, because handouts are kind of a pain and stuff. So I went out and I ordered the book, and I even got this binding put on it for like an extra
Nice.
$4 at my printer.
That makes a big difference. It makes it easier with the
Oh yeah,
binder.
yeah. So anyway, great to see you looking good, Joe.
Thank you. Thanks.
And Amy,
I plan on coming to some festivals too one of these days. Yeah, I'm going to get to some of those.
Yeah. So
I can't wait to
Amy,
see
you've been playing music all your life. I mean, you've been playing.
Yeah,
music
I mean, I've been playing banjo
long time.
for like 30 or 40 years now.
Right.
But a lot of us musicians, people who learn instruments, we get stuck at a certain level, and then it's like, yeah, I know everything I need to know to play this kind of music I like to play. But then, you need to have some incentive to push yourself a little bit. And that's the great thing about these groups is you go and you're like, oh, I want to learn that new song. Or you say like, oh, I need to get better at this style or this finger picking. And actually I started with old time banjo, Appalachian style. And then but now I want to learn bluegrass picking with finger picks and all that, so I can play like Joe and Mark. So, so that's what I'm working on now. So it's
Awesome.
great, keeps us young, keeps us learning,
That's
keeps
right.
our brains
True.
engaged. Yep.
That's very true.
Good for the brain, good for the body, good for the spirit.
Right.
All
And
things.
the thing you said earlier about songs with 3
Yeah.
or 4 chords, those are the best kinds of songs to.
Those are the best
learn
jam songs. They
and
really
work
are.
on your work on your skills. Yeah.
That's right. All right. Well, Amy, thank you for coming. Do we have another caller? Oh,
I
we
hope
don't.
to see you around the Bluegrass campus, Amy. Nice seeing you.
Yes. I will see you there. Bye.
All right.
Well,
Be well.
Amy, thanks for calling in. All right. So Joe, look at all those people that
That's very heartwarming to see all those people.
seriously.
Yeah, that's
Those
very
were some
heartwarming.
really sincere like people really have a lot of respect for you and just admiration for you. I mean,
Well, I'm grateful for
and
that.
you're really, it's your personality, quite frankly, too. I mean, really, you're just like Jana said, you noticed that she was like driving around looking, and you wanted to invite her. You're like, hey, come on in,
Yeah.
and I think that has a huge effect on people, just feeling very welcome and feeling accepted. And yeah.
Yeah,
So,
well, I'm glad to do it, and
yeah.
the payoff is amazing when you get to sit amongst great musicians, and we all are smiling ear to ear,
That's
enjoying what we enjoy, and more importantly, enjoying each other's company, because it is a lonely world out there, and
Sure is.
if
There's a
you're feeling,
loneliness epidemic, even.
yes,
I
and
mean,
if you're
seriously.
feeling the slightest bit lonely, this is the place for you.
Music is
Come join us,
right.
and if you don't have an instrument yet, come join us anyways. We probably have an extra sitting around,
and
we'll
music is
teach you.
great. Music is great for shy people because you really don't have to talk. You can just,
No.
but you can still interact with other people, even if you're shy, you don't want to, you can still interact. And that is, that in itself is a form of communication that and helps you feel like you're not so alone in the world. Yes.
Yeah. And in short order, you'll feel like you're part of a family.
Part of
in
a
short
family.
order.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Joe, for coming. So just to just a few repeats here. So we would just want to make sure. So the bluegrass therapy, if people want to get involved in bluegrass therapy, they're going to go on to go ahead and give the information again for people.
So two places you can either jump on Google Groups called Bluegrass Therapy Group and make a request to be part of the group, and we get you on the mailing list, and then you'll know where all the events are. You can write to me, Joseph, JOSEPH _ Loporto, LOPORTO @hotmail.com, and just say, I want to join. And then I'll reach out to you. We'll even have a conversation, just so that you feel especially comfortable coming to the first jam, and we'll be having those from 1 to 4 on Sundays imminently within a week or two, once we get through the logistics that's happening at Theater with a Twist.
Right. So there may be more things coming up, but the main thing is every Sunday, 1 to 4 at Theater with a Twist. And also this big event that's going to be happening. Everybody stay tuned sometime March, April. It's going to be we're going to descend on the bluegrass therapy people, and anybody who wants to come is going to descend on the Regency in Westford and play some music and have some workshops and who knows what else. So be
Right.
alert for that. I have been informed that we actually have another caller.
Oh my.
I think
Oh, Rick.
Rick Candy is
Hi, Rick.
calling.
I finally figured this out. Oh my
Hey,
god!
fantastic.
Wow.
Yep.
Great.
Nice to see you, Rick.
Joe.
There you are.
Great to see you. Wow.
So
I think
Rick,
tuning in late tonight. Sorry.
we're talking bluegrass therapy, and anything in between. So
I've heard about that. Yeah.
you've heard about that. Yeah. What was your
I'll tell you, that guy that's sitting there?
Yep.
I'll tell you, he's a real Renaissance man in my mouth. he is just. I told you, Joe, you're my hero
Yeah. Thanks.
for sure.
Thanks.
You know,
Well-
I remember the first time I met you. It was at one of those Colonial Inn gigs, one of those weekends, and you were leading a jam over there in the cottage, and you were trying to revive that for the spring. But it sounds like we got something better going on here.
I think so. It's coming. It's coming. Yeah.
Yeah. I just my first time, and you were very welcoming. And told me which book to get and the Bible and everything like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Rick, you're one of those people you want to have at a jam though too, because you're just
well, thank
amazing player, an amazing
Yeah.
musician. And
Thank
when
you
I
so
was
much.
absent for a period of time, Rick and Susanna
Rick and Susanna. Yeah.
kept the thing going,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's I'll remember it. And I would show up and play as well, but they were leading at the time, and the music was at that higher level of caliber, and it was just awesome. Just
Well,
awesome.
thank you,
So-
Joe. It was always a pleasure to fill in for you, but nobody can fill your shoes.
Oh no.
At all.
That's true.
Well, that's very kind.
Yeah, and I was.
But anyways,
I
it's
was
this.
reminiscing a little bit when I was trying to get on here, get my microphone and everything going, and Jana tuned in, and I remember that meeting. And her, this little lost soul in the wilderness. Sorry, Jan, if you're still out there, but yeah,
Lost soul. Oh, she's right there. Lost soul in the wilderness.
You are a lost soul, in the dark of night, trying to find a place to pitch your little tent, and
Yeah.
this man came down from the mountain and pulled you in. And,
Damn. This
brought
is
you
like
into the flock.
Yeah. Wow. It's like a
And we had a blast. We all had a blast,
Yeah.
and
mythological. Yeah.
I never and it was funny. I think at the time there were at least 4 or 5 of us playing banjo at the time. So, Jenna comes in and she's sitting around 4 or 5 banjo players for her first gig, and it was a riot. We all had a lot of laughs.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Rick. Thank you, Rick, for finally making it in. We got you in right at the last minute there. So
got a chance to say hi to the big guy.
Just
I'm
another one
looking
more
forward to good
person.
things.
Yeah, just one more person who's been influenced and inspired by Joe Laporto. So
Absolutely.
all
Very
right.
grateful for all your support all that time.
All
So,
right. So
wonderful.
all right. So I think we're gonna try to wrap it up just a little bit here, and but all guests should stick around for after the broadcast, maybe just for a little debriefing. But Joe, so it's been great having you, and great talking to you. You're easy to interview. I mean, I feel like we didn't even scratch the surface. I had so
No.
many other things to ask you about, but we do have to wrap it up here on Let's Have Words. And it was great having you as our first guest on our first show. And just all the people that you've influenced, really, it's amazing. So thank you for coming. And go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
It's certainly an honor to sit in circle with all these people. I am honored and blessed personally to sit in circle with all these people, and the more people we can invite and help them be a part of this wonderful experience, I think is wonderful. And I know it's this caliber of people who are on the call and called in tonight who make it happen. It isn't just Joe Laporto. Every one of these people have a beautiful personality, and they'll make you feel welcomed.
Cool. All right. Well, Anybody who wants to get involved in bluegrass therapy, you can just show up at the Twist, or of course contact Joe. And stay tuned for further information about the event coming up in March or April. All right, so Let's Have Words. This is going to wrap it up for the day. I want to remind people that we're going to be here. Let's Have Words. The show is going to be here every Sunday from 8 to 9 p.m. We are going to be covering a range of topics, not just bluegrass music or not just music, but even politics, science, technology, arts, humanities, you name it. So we are an interview-driven show. So anybody who would like to be on the show and be interviewed, please contact us. Where do they contact us? Do you have a contact information that you can put up there? There we go. wwhrmedia@gmail.com with your topic and role. And we're really interested in all topics. So if there's anything you feel like you have some expertise in, or you'd like to be on the show, please contact us. We'd love to have you. And once again, Let's Have Words is happening every Sunday from 8 to 9 p.m. right here on WWHR and Internet Media. And we are looking forward to seeing you next week. So we're signing off for now. Thank you very much for coming. I'm Lara Samuels. And let's hit the Let's Have Words theme song. Here we go.
Oh, I didn't know you were going to do that.